President Joe Biden is not resigning as U.S. president. According to a statement he put out on social media platform X on Sunday, he will serve the remainder of his term as president up until January of 2025. He will not, however, be running against a former President Donald Trump when the November 5 elections come. And as we now know, shortly after his statement, he announced his endorsement for his Vice President, Kamala Harris.
We have to remember who we are.
The U.S. President Joe Biden ended his re-election campaign on Sunday, July 21st, after fellow Democrats lost faith in his mental acuity and ability to beat Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, leaving the presidential race in uncharted territory. The president announced his decision in a post on X, saying he will remain in his role as president and commander-in-chief until his term ends in January 2025 and will address the nation later this week. On Sunday evening, Biden endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to take his place atop the Democratic ticket, having referred to her earlier as an extraordinary partner. She becomes the first black woman to do so in the party's history. If she wins, the 59-year-old former U.S. Senator and California Attorney General will be the first woman to become President of the United States. However, her 3.5-year White House tenure has been characterized by a lackluster start, staff turnover, and early policy portfolios, including migration from Central America, that did not produce major successes.
International humanitarian law must be respected.
But recent polls suggest Harris could do better than Biden against Trump, although she would face a tight contest. Polling outlet 538 said 37.1% of voters approve of Harris and 49.6% disapprove. Those numbers compare to 36.9% and 57.1% for Biden and 38.6% and 53.6% for Trump.
But while I may be the first woman in this office,
if confirmed by the Democratic Party, Harris will take over money raised by the Biden campaign and inherit campaign infrastructure, a critical advantage in just 4 months before Election Day on November 5. Reacting to news that President Biden will no longer be running in the race, former President Donald Trump took to his social media website, Truth Social, to criticize him. Trump alleged that Biden was unfit to run or serve as president and vowed to remedy the damage he's done very quickly, saying that Biden's doctor and the media knew that he was not capable of being president. We're still taking reactions from people around the world to the withdrawal of U.S. President Joe Biden from the November race. Ukrainians think a possible Trump presidency might emerge in November as a result, and that may not be of much help to Ukraine. Others are skeptical about Vice President Kamala Harris joining the race, saying that they think she was in the public eye enough to take the post of president. Another says Biden could not win the election. They think Trump will win. They also think that Trump himself has been very popular by Biden's announcement. I want to bring in now former Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi, who joins us from the nation's capital, Abuja. Ambassador Keshi, great to see you this afternoon or this evening. You will need to unmute. You will need to unmute, Ambassador. We can hardly hear you.
Yeah. Thank you. Glad to see you too.
Yeah, we finally got it. Great to see you. And what were your initial reactions to President Biden's announcement? We've discussed this. We've gone back and forth about American politics, about a possibility of another Democratic administration in the White House. Let's get your reactions to that post on Twitter, I beg your pardon, on X.
You know, Amarachi, in the last 3 weeks since the debate, Trump has sucked out the oxygen from the race. from the poor performance of Joe Biden to the assassination attempt. In fact, it got so bad in terms of Trump every day on television that I was contemplating for a while to probably stop watching CNN, because all CNN was reporting about Joe Biden and the Democrats was not the campaign, but the campaign against Joe Biden to step down. But guess what? That changed yesterday night, at least the Nigerian time. That changed completely yesterday night. I actually watched from the time the announcement was made until I went to bed until about 1 o'clock Nigerian time, from about 8 to 1 o'clock Nigerian time. I can count how many times Trump was mentioned. What am I trying to say? The game has changed. Trump will no longer suck out the oxygen from the race. He now has a formidable contender to deal with. And what has happened between yesterday and this morning is a clear indication that if the Democrats can coalesce together, if they can come together, close ranks, they are going to give Trump a good run for his money. So I think that the Democrats are happy. I mean, I'm sure you also have heard that she has raised 46 million. 35 or 36,000 Black women have been working on the phone yesterday to show up support for Kamala. So it's going to be an interesting race. But for me, Trump thought for a while that it was going to be an easy race to the White House. That disappeared last night. We are now watching a completely different dynamics in the United States presidential race.
Yeah, but did he really think it was going to be an easy race? I mean, he thought with Biden, yes. I mean, he was happy with the way the campaign was going. The U.S. president was refusing to step down, saying he could win this again. You know, he tried very hard to convince the donors that he could win this. He tried very hard to remain in the race. He kept with every opportunity. He said he was okay, he was ready. You know, and then, you know, I guess, you know, the conviction came with all the other top Democrats who spoke to him, even former President Barack Obama and other Democrats who spoke to him and convinced him, you know, that he should step down. But the former President, Donald Trump, has been hugging the spotlight since for about a week now, especially with the assassination attempt on Saturday.
That's exactly the point I was making. But since last night till today, it's all about the Democratic Party. It's all about Biden's resignation. It's all about Kamala Harris. Look, the dynamics has changed. Everybody is now talking about whether, it's not a question of whether she can win. But the truth of the matter is that quite a number of things are going to work in her favor, and also a number of things would probably work against her. But the most important thing for the Democrats today is that the base of the Democratic Party has been energized. The young ones who said they were not going to bother themselves with the election because the two candidates are old folks, they are going to come back, you know, to begin to pay attention to the race. So we're going to have a very interesting race between now and November. And of course, you saw the polls of poll. Trump just has a 2% marginal lead. You know, for a lady who was not in the race, but now has been in the race, Trump is at 48, I think, and she's at 46. So, look, quite a number of things are going to act in her favor, and she's going to give Trump a good run for money. I'm actually waiting to see the debate.
Yeah, maybe help us. Yeah, Ambassador, maybe help us understand some of the things that might work in her favor. Because, you know, we've seen these polls before. The polls are great, but they usually are not a good, well, not an accurate prediction of what could happen on the night of November 5. You know, after the elections, we could see a change. Sometimes the Democrats have not performed well at the polls, and I think we've seen it in recent presidential elections, but they have outperformed in the polls. So what could work in Kamala Harris's favor?
Marachi, since Trump returned to the campaign or decided to run for the presidency, Trump has actually not gained much. Look, after the debate, the polls from the debate indicated that Trump got 68% of American voters, 68% of American voters said Trump was the best. Guess what? It was the same 68% Trump got 4 years ago in the first debate. Everything Trump has done, when you look at the poll, yeah, he's probably, everybody does think he's probably best in the economy. The records do not show that. So there are so many things the Democrats can really use to run against Donald Trump. But to answer directly to your question, and why I said I'm looking forward to the debate, this lady is a great persecutor and is going to take Trump, is going to persecute Trump. I'm confident of that during the debate. All those lies Trump told in the first debate, forget it. She's going to fact-check Trump immediately right at the debate stand. But the most important thing is that the Democratic base as of today is energized. There's a new life in that party. And all those everybody thought could get into the race, they have all declared support for her. So they are coming together. They are coming together. And more importantly is the fact that the leadership of the party is working behind the scene to ensure that there's no contest that will again disunite the Democrats. They just want to ensure that they bring everybody together around the candidate and then begin to face the election.
Well, that's if, the primaries has been called by the party's leadership does work out in the end. Some people, especially here in Africa, are commending, well, haven't heard leaders' response to President Biden's announcement, but, people on the streets have said this is something good. African leaders should also emulate this. What do you think about that, about what I like to call geriatric politics?
Amarachi, I wish you had left African leaders out of this conversation. They are, look, they are not going to do it, forget it. They would rather die. How old is the president of, is it Uganda? How old is he? And other presidents, some who have spent, they changed the tenure, they have finished, they are looking for a way, to extend the tenure. Even look at younger Yadema, now wants to be like his father, perpetually in office until death, do come his way. So let's not bring African leaders into this conversation at all. I don't see any of them doing that, neither now in the near future. Mugabe was a good example. He died in office. The man who succeeded him is almost as old, but nobody is showing signs of wanting to retire or give away to the younger elements. So let's not bring African leaders into this conversation. Let's focus on how the American election will shape out in the next couple of days. It's going to be interesting to watch, and we just all will have to hold our breath and see what happens, between now and August next. Actually, in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, if it's endorsed by the party, the race is on, and we begin to watch what happens and who will win the election.
Yes, so hopefully at the Democratic Convention, which is sometime in August, I believe the second week in August, we should know by then who is the party's nominee. Let's talk about America's future relations with Ukraine and with Israel. With Ukraine especially because President Biden will not be around after January next year. And I know the Ukrainian president has reacted to President Biden's decision to pull out of the race. What do you think will happen with American support of Ukraine in the war with Russia?
Well, look, if the Democrats retain the president, the White House, there certainly would be no problem because the new president will certainly continue to support Ukraine. In fact, if you see the line of attack coming in from the Trump campaign, they are trying to link every policy of Biden to Kamala and saying that she's just going to do the same thing like Biden has done. So we should expect. And in any case, look, American foreign policy does not change fundamentally. The core issues are still the same. But for all Trump did 4 years ago, he did not pull out of NATO to start with. He only just said they should, up their contributions and the rest of it. But the president of Ukraine has also done something significant. He has reached out to Trump himself, and they are talking, and they will visit with each other sooner or later. So we can all just hope for the best of the people of Ukraine that if the vice president wins and becomes the president, NATO and America is going to continue to support Ukraine.
What about Israel? I know that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also, commended President Joe Biden, said he's been friends with him for over 40 years. He looks forward to when he'll meet with him and then, convey his good wishes to him. What do you think would happen after November?
I think they are meeting tomorrow. Look, fundamentally, the American policy towards Israel will not change. What will probably change, and I'm hoping that between now and the next 2 weeks, there's some good news about ceasefire and other things that would follow. If that happens, that will probably be one issue that will not disturb the vice president. But the truth of the matter is that the American policy will remain the same between now and January next, and between now and January next year, I sincerely believe that something will be worked out that will enable a ceasefire and some other talks to take place with regards to the future of the Palestinians and what happens in Gaza. But fundamentally, there will be not much change. Not many things will change in the policy of America.
Ambassador Joe Keshi, thank you so much for speaking with us. I appreciate these conversations that we have on the air and off the air as well. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much.